Sometimes when something is a long-standing traditional practice, we fail to value the reasons behind it, because we don't think about it. It's common. But in our present situation, where this is now no longer a common practice, it's interesting to watch the theology develop and catch up, and in some ways articulate anew the reasons why people found this valuable. I'm interested that a lot of young people are taking this up and find a value in it. It could be a real occasion for giving evangelical witness to this practice that is biblical.
I think when people study the theological significance of the veil, they realize what a tremendous privilege it is to be a woman, because the entire context of the veil in Scripture is in the context of the Eucharistic celebration. And during that celebration, all sacred things are veiled. The chalice is veiled. In between Mass, the Eucharist is also veiled. And women are veiled because we're so sacred to God. We're a sacred vessel just like they are. And God can touch us in a way that He can't touch a man, because we can have a child. And the veil signifies all of those things.
In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verses 3 through 16, Paul makes some remarks about the need for men and women to attire themselves appropriately in the conduct of the liturgy. Paul seems to give 4 different rationales there for why men should have their head uncovered and women have their head covered. So people rightly have a concern, because this is part of sacred scripture, about what this means for our attire in church today. As some people might remember, that it used to be a matter of canon law. The old 1917 Code of Canon Law had an express requirement that men were to have their heads uncovered in church and women their heads covered. However, in 1983, there is a new edition of the Code of Canon Law, and that is expressly derogated. So it's no longer a matter of church law, so it's entirely an optional matter of devotion. Nonetheless, some people still find great value in the practice.
I remember seeing an older woman wearing a mantilla, and normally I wouldn't have thought anything of it, except for the fact that her daughters were also wearing the mantilla. And that interested me, because I didn't expect to see a young, 7-year-old girl wearing something like that. The more I learned about it, the more I just loved the idea of it, and it was more of a burden for me to not wear it, knowing what I knew. So I was nervous, but I'm not doing this because of other people. I'm doing it because I want to honor God in this way.
I started wearing the veil because I was really drawn to the sacred tradition of it, but I kept wearing the veil because as soon as I put it on and walked into a church, it's like my focus immediately centered on the Eucharist. It was a lot easier to participate in the Mass as a sacrifice and for it all to seem much more real. So that's a very positive impact that the veil has had in my life. I think younger women today are also really longing for beauty and tradition and mystery and all the things that are lacking in our culture. And when you wear the veil, in a very beautiful way, you are an icon of Christ's church. You are representing the bride of Christ. And if you're a symbol at all, it's a very positive one, so don't be afraid of that.